Tabletop gaming is experiencing a full-blown renaissance. People everywhere are learning that tabletop games are a great way to reconnect with the analog world around them and rediscover their original social network. And so can you, thanks to GameBox Monthly. GameBox Monthly sends a unique new tabletop game right to your door every month. There are multiple subscriptions to choose from, and you can personalize each of them to fit your style. So whether you're looking to bring the family together for a weekly game night, a couple looking for the best stay-at-home date idea, or just someone looking for a great new way to spend a night with friends, GameBox sends a title just for you, letting you focus on what matters most, having great times with great people. So visit GameBoxMonthly.com now and use the promo code DRAGON to get an exclusive discount just for Dragon Wagon Radio listeners. Again, that's promo code DRAGON. Discounts. Everybody likes discounts. So what are you waiting for? Visit GameBoxMonthly.com right now and rediscover social. Yes, let's talk about it indeed. Hi, welcome to another episode of Elaborate. My name is Jake Lloyd. Thank you so much for listening. Sincerely, that is awesome. My guest this week is the hilarious comedian, host, and actor. You've seen him on Conan and everything. He's also a really talented artist and illustrator. He's lent his talents to magazines, and I bet you some of your favorite stand-up albums feature his artwork. You don't even know it. I'm sitting down this week with the charming ball of kinetic energy known as Chris Fairbanks. How's it going, Chris?
I'm great. Yeah, no, you cheered me up.
Thanks. I cheered you up.
Yeah, it's like today I woke up and I'm like, what am I doing with my life? I don't have any, these medical bills. I don't have I guess I got this going on, but that's not a big thing. But then I listen to you. I'm like, yeah, I've done all right.
Yeah, you're doing all right.
Yeah, my dad loves me. Everything's
cool.
Oh,
see, you've already, we're not even 30 seconds in. You've already mentioned dads. That is the baseline for all of these shows. No.
I got a pretty good dad.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
We are in lovely, what would you consider this? Venice?
We are in, we're on the cusp. We're in Marina Del Rey, actually.
Lovely Marina Del Rey.
I think we're in my garage, not to brag. I rent a place with a garage attachment, but right now we're in Venice. But if you get on Washington, that's when all.
Oh, really? You're on the line?
Just judging by map navigation.
It's like one of those things where if you're in your living room, you're in a different state than your bedroom.
Yeah.
But it is a lovely day. We've got the garage door open, so you might hear the occasional fluttery bird or motorcycle. But
yeah.
In any case, it's beautiful out.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a Harley Davidson place around the corner, and
Nice.
As I get older, I'm like, when motorcycles go by, I mean, they're just like tribal tattoos that set off car alarms.
They're literally the audible version of a tribal tattoo.
If there was a tribal tattoo talking, like in some
that's
sort
what it
of
sounds like.
Yeah, animated graffiti type movie.
Well, I have to say, in comedy, in entertainment, it's like being in high school, okay? Like there's cliques. Mm-hmm. Everybody sort of has their little crew, but they also kind of fit in with some other crews. There's so much smack talking. If people behind each other's backs, there's slam books, lots of slam books.
Yeah.
I have never, ever heard anybody say an unkind word about a Chris Fairbanks.
Oh, thanks.
And I don't know what to attribute it to. Whether it's just your sort of joyous outlook, whether it's your upbringing.
It is. I reserve most of my hatred for myself until the right person comes along, and so occasionally someone will get in the brunt of. Sometimes people really don't like me. This weekend, some dude, I wasn't even looking at him, and I got sucker punched at some bar.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah. And I was like, I was talking to a girl, and then this guy said something to me, I don't remember, and I just kind of smiled, and he hit me as hard as he could, and then I was like, oh, you think I'm hitting on your girlfriend. But then that guy's husband, the woman's husband came over and said, I'm so sorry, that's not even his girlfriend. I don't know what just happened.
Okay, so you were just literally just standing there minding your business, and somebody just cold cocked you.
Yeah, and
did you? I have to ask. Did you fall?
No, I just was so shocked. But then too much time had passed before I was ready to fight him back.
Oh my!
And then there was one of his friends that did want to, but I had my roommate with me. every once in a while, it's a
Just
area.
got some guests walking by the garage right now.
Well, yeah, someone just walked down my alley with some swagger.
But you got cold cocked this weekend. And what was after the apology?
Out of all the people in the bar, he chose me. And so sometimes people just
was it at a show? Was it a comedy club?
No,
Just
we were at Mammoth. It was like a mountainy, drunk.
Yeah.
I haven't been in that element for a while, but it seems like when I was,
that was just regular?
And alcohol was happening, people were more ready to fight. And in Montana, too, in general.
Is that where you're from, Montana?
But so no one hits each other in Los Angeles.
That's what I was going to say. Is this like a city? Is this a cliche about Montana that we don't know about yet? It's just, Montana, the land where they punch in the face.
Oh, God, that's all people did. In high school, all we did this, I'm old, it was the early 90s. People just drove around, cruised the drag, went under the bridge downtown. Which is where I drew some blood. That's what that song's about. It's about my...
People think it's all California based.
The Red Hot Chili Pepper.
Yeah, really big about Montana.
If they aren't singing about licorice rips.
What city?
Missoula, Montana.
Missoula, Montana.
People just drove around looking for fights.
Like trouble?
Cowboy, trucks with gun rack. Guns are worse now, of course.
Right.
And I don't even want to get into... Well, I will. I hate guns a lot.
Yeah.
But back then, people just had... their hunting rifles in their truck. That was okay.
Yeah.
But no one even thought that it would ever get used.
Right. It was it was the same thing as having the crowbar or the tire iron.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the only, I almost sound like I'm speaking for the NRA. Or
you really are.
But this is the first time I've realized, why wasn't it a problem then? Anyway, because I remember people getting in fights with some cowboys with cowboy hats, dressed like cowboys, boots, and listening to NWA, so they're already confused.
Yes, quite confused.
And then fighting under that bridge, but they had the option of a gun in their truck, and everyone just assumed, well, no one's here. It's a murderer. Everyone wants to fight, but something has happened where people are fighting less. I think probably it's hard to get punched now in Missoula.
You think so? What is Missoula? I mean, part of my ignorance. Is it like a dense city? Is it more of an urban?
It's a
country?
liberal arts college. For being in Montana, it is a bluer town.
Gotcha.
We love singing the blues. No, politically,
it's a very sad town.
Yeah, and I always think it's like, I like to say it's like the Austin of Montana, since I've lived in Austin. And when you say Texas, people are like, oh, shit.
Yeah. And then they go, but you gotta visit Austin.
Yeah. Because it is way different.
Right.
And
it's
Missoula,
like it's the little gem inside of, the rest of the state, essentially.
Yeah. And I'm about to go to Bozeman, which has more of a, there's rich people there, but it's also more conservative. We'll see.
Gotcha. What kind of kid were you growing up in that area? Were you, obviously you have a background in skating, in skateboarding. Were you sort of like that typical 90s skateboard kid?
Yeah, I think that
on the streets all the time.
In late 80s, yeah, I was skateboarding in 5th grade or 6th grade when it was first becoming a thing, and there was a group of kids that did it there.
You kind of found your little niche.
Yeah. I'm glad I did. I don't know what I would have been doing. It's so funny that it gets a bad reputation, or back then.
Right, yeah.
It's the stereotypical. Smoke the skateboard reefer.
Yeah, exactly.
But it just made me focus on something, and I hung out with older kids that I could see were drinking or doing things, and I'm like, well, I gotta be good at skateboarding. I can't even just talk to girls. Time to go to bed. Yeah.
Wow, that's sort of that's the story you don't hear. You don't hear that about the skateboarding youth. I was sort of on the opposite team. I was a BMX guy.
Oh yeah,
there's beef.
Yeah, some contention.
Yeah, it's like stand-ups and improvisers.
Yeah,
it's there's this sort of listen, we all play on the same stage.
Yeah,
but
now there's Razor scooters at every skate park,
and everybody hates those. Yeah,
so it's like
we've come together for a common enemy.
Sure, it's like if a YouTube famous person came in and we had to team up, stand up, and
I remember I remember getting into fights with skateboarders, being like, "It's a skate park, not a bike park," and I'm like, "All right." Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, and when I moved to Austin, that was my first exposure to an actual BMX scene, and there was giant, well-maintained dirt jump tracks that were
they're here for this purpose.
Yeah,
versus I broke into this place I'm not supposed to be at to do that. Yeah.
And I showed up with my mountain bike with clipless pedals, and I'm like, I'm gonna jump some of this, and I just kind of pumped around, and I could tell people were kind of like laughing at me.
Yeah,
I think I had my tight shirt, my bike, my cycling.
Sure.
top.
Let me just back up 2 seconds, because when I said that I was a BMXer, that, don't get me wrong, that was me as well. I was that guy. I was the guy that was in the BMX scene who everybody was like, "Oh, he's coming!" Like that.
Yeah.
Always a little bit too enthusiastic. You know, like there's that guy who's always around you.
I've never been in the BMX scene because I probably had something to do with skateboarding. It's like, oh, you can't do both.
Yeah.
Now tons of kids.
Of course,
both.
yeah.
But I did like riding mountain bikes quite a bit. But
how long did you you were obviously born there, raised there? Did you stay there throughout high school and college, or did you?
I did. Yeah, I went to college in Missoula, University of Montana, and then when I graduated,
did you study art? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Because I'm curious with somebody with your abilities. Like I look at that and I go, oh, you know how some people are like, oh, they're good at art, and then you go, oh, they went to art school. Like,
oh, thanks. Yeah,
you clearly went to school.
Yeah, I went. They had really good painting and drawing professors there.
Oh,
like
okay,
I was really lucky to have those guys. They were really good. One of them's still around. I found the guy that ran the art program there, or the art history part, the part that kept it alive.
Right.
People legitimize history of art.
Exactly. It all of a sudden becomes education versus like, oh, I'm going to teach you this hobby.
Well, that school, that college is like in dire straits a little because they're like, it's a liberal arts college and people are now go to college for special reasons to make money. So it's like not.
What, speaking of.
But he reached out on Facebook and I got the lowdown on all my old professors.
Oh,
and,
nice.
You know, you always want to go back. Even high school, even though I wasn't angry, hated all my teachers,
weird.
I want to go and say hi to these old farts.
And it's so weird that Facebook allows. Like, I'm Facebook friends with like my high school band teacher, and my high school like drama teacher, and it's just weird. And you know, you write him a message. He's like, "Oh, hi," and they're like, "Yeah, call me John now." And I'm like, "It's still weird. No, you're Mr. Brierly or whatever." You know, like, it's a very weird thing the way that we're all connected that way.
It totally was. Yeah, this guy is Raphael Chacon. He's like he's a very smart art history. He was like studied art and didn't necessarily,
wasn't
make
artist.
art. Which was interesting.
He was a historian.
To me. Yeah, he knew stuff, but he knows about comedy and everything, and he knew what I'd been doing. So
that's nice.
Yeah. Those are little things that legitimize your life. It's that or buying a BMX bike.
Right, buying a really nice BMX bike.
The 15 version of me would
and hopefully not getting stolen.
Yeah. We're in my garage.
Or jumped. I'll never forget my my sister, my older sister, she's like 10 years my senior, bought me like a really like the best Huffy at the time. You know what I mean? Or whatever it was.
I had a Huffy 400.
Oh man. Yeah, that's what it was. Blue with the electric blue with the yellow like writing that was all kind of like cool and rad looking, you know.
I think I have a photo that lets us know we had the same bike.
Yeah, and I was jumped at the underpass of the railroad, you know, they took my bike.
It's always under something. It's got to be under a bridge.
Under a bridge, under underpass, under train tracks.
If you want to just be in a field, if you don't want anyone to bother you or hit you or steal from you.
Yeah, nobody gets mugged in an open field. You've never heard of anybody. There's ever been like, I was walking the prairie and somebody's jacked my Rolex.
A lot of people don't talk about the negative aspects to having a roof over your head. And that is,
that's
homeless people are in it. They're there for the peace.
But in any case, just to rewind, you mentioned, joked about going to a school that actually makes you money in a way.
Sure.
What were mom and dad's viewpoint of you going to art school?
Yeah, my dad's a painter, and
okay,
I was raised. He's the reason I was into drawing. He I was interested in drawing. He's like, well, this is how you do it. And he had me draw my hand over and over and draw with my left hand, all the things they have you do in art school because he went to art school.
And you were doing those when you were young, when you were a child.
Yeah. So early on, I was way into drawing. And then I think maybe I took a break a little bit. But then in high school again, I was like,
well, you take a break like at adolescence where you're just
Yeah. It wasn't, just I went outside instead.
Were you into like comics and shit?
Oddly no.
That's weird.
Now, I do have like a comic drawing gig coming up that apparently I'm not supposed to talk about.
Good job.
But yeah, it's I've never collected them. I've always just kind of drawn in a way that's
weird because I feel like those two things go hand in hand. Because I also was like, I was never gonna be the talented artist, but there's a difference between being like the best artist in your school and being an artist. Like
Right.
I was that kid. I was the best artist in the school. I was like the one that won all the awards, and people were like, "Oh, Jake, you're going to be a comic book artist, or you're going to be." And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Tell me a character, I'll draw him. Tell me to draw him twice. No, not going to happen.
Right.
He's
Yeah,
not going to match."
I think I'm a good illustrator, and then I'm like, I just look at how prolific and how like someone like Dave Clark just keeps
Right.
churning stuff
Yeah.
out, and it's his job, and
Yeah.
he gets real big gigs, but he'll also do smaller ones, you
Right.
know. But yeah, he's really good.
Was
drawer.
your dad a professional?
No, he always. I mean, he went to art school, and I think he had kids, and then
Right.
sort of, and he
Kids.
was doing radio stuff. Like he would write jokes for
Oh,
comics, like
all right.
even
So now,
Sammy Shore and stuff.
so
like
now
he-
it's a much
we're very
clearer,
similar.
yeah, we're a much clearer picture now. Of,
Yeah.
So you literally really
You
kind of
should do
followed
this
suit.
stuff.
Yeah,
Totally.
right.
Yeah. Which I'm lucky, I think. But I do have jokes about it in my act where it's like the people I know that are more successful in the arts, it's almost like if you don't have the support of your parents,
Right.
it lights a fire under your ass to
It
prove
is
them
true.
wrong.
Yeah.
And then, so it's like someone like,
Yeah,
the
the
most
major-
successful dudes will be someone like BJ Novak or something, you know, where their dad was like, "You went to Harvard, why aren't you a doctor?" It's like,
Yeah.
"Fuck you, Dad." And
Yeah.
then, you know, he's
Right.
anytime I've been to a party, he has a Mercedes.
Yeah,
so-
executive producer of the most successful
Yeah,
comedy
yeah,
television
it's
show of all
okay.
time.
Yeah. Well, now he
Um,
probably knows. I'm
well,
the one
you
that
said-
keyed it.
You said
I didn't key his car.
you
BJ.
said kids plural. You have siblings?
Yeah, my sister is a very brilliant, funny, smart person. She's a writer,
Oh,
but right now she's a teacher. She's like a librarian teacher.
a librarian teacher.
A librarian teacher.
Teaches librarians.
It is a class. Yeah. It's. I
Okay.
think she was working at 2 schools, but now it's just 1 school. But yeah, she's.
So you come from some creative stock.
Yeah. I think
and
so.
What about mom?
Yeah, very,
Ditto?
very creative. Yeah, and funny. Like what I didn't realize is because my mom worked for the city, my dad worked for the government. Like they
Gotcha.
had jobs growing up where I was like, well, I'm not interested in sewer billing or the assessment of property. Now I am kind
Now,
of interested
yeah,
in
of
that
course.
stuff. But yeah, I realized my mom passed, but I realized
sorry to hear
that I'm a lot of my sense of humor. The more people were telling stories about her, like at her funeral, like people that
Right.
these women that worked with her and everything.
The people
more,
that you didn't get to see throughout your life.
yeah, all of their stories are like, oh, my mom was weird
She-
and wanted to make like the side of me that likes awkwardness and
Right.
and apologizing and self-defacing stuff.
That's all
like,
her?
Yeah, that's all. That specific brand of comedy, I got that.
How long ago did she pass?
But it's been a year.
Oh, still really
like,
fresh. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It was a long,
Right.
like we were ready for it to happen.
Oh,
you know?
gotcha.
It's like a 10-year Alzheimer's thing.
Oh God, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's tough.
Well, I've had friends that, you know, the parent falls off a roof and they're gone
Right,
immediately. And I'm like, that's worse. That guy's fucked up now.
Right. Yeah.
You
You
know?
had a long.
Yeah.
Yeah. We recently lost my mother's twin.
Uh-huh. Oh, wow.
From a battle of cancer.
Twins always seems
and-
like a new thing. I always forget there's twins from like the 50s, 60s.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. 65-year-old
Yeah,
twins.
yeah.
But it's also very weird because I never thought about the repercussions of like losing one half of the set.
Right.
And that's just very weird.
Because if most people say my aunt passed,
Yeah.
it's way different.
It's very different. But similarly so, like my Aunt Catherine, she was very playful,
Mhm.
but like we would have never said like, oh, she's the funny one or you know
Sure.
anything like that. And it was the same sort of thing where in her passing, hearing people tell stories, even my mom, hearing my mother tell a story about how when she went there towards the end, and she walked in the room, my mother walked in the room, my Aunt Catherine starts screaming like, "Oh my God, who are you? What are you doing? Don't hurt me! Don't hurt me!" And my mom starts crying,
Mhm.
and then my Aunt Catherine goes, "Ha, you idiot! I got you!" Like just little twisted shit like that.
Sure.
That you go like, "Wow, she actually kind of had a great sense of humor."
Yeah.
But so you got to
And
see
there's
that.
that specific brand.
Yes,
Yeah, I'm
that
just
very
realizing
specific
it.
brand.
Whereas my dad, it's like he's a joke writer, and
Right.
Yeah,
He's more of that like
yeah,
structural kind of comedy.
and I don't remember him ever being self-deprecating.
No.
or certainly for a joke.
Right,
But
right.
but I just am that way. And
Right. Yeah.
almost to where it's like, oh fuck, I need to
Trying
deal
to
with this.
reprogram.
Yeah.
That's
I
fair.
need therapy or whatever.
Right,
Anyway,
yeah.
I got that from my mom.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't change it. It's funny. I even because I know a lot of people. My sister's one where they take some kind of medication or something to
Right. Yeah.
to feel better. You
Yeah,
know,
I-
I'm like, well, I don't want to lose my edge. You know,
Oh man, you're
You know
preaching to
what
the
I mean?
choir.
Yeah.
'Cause I-
Plus, say goodbye to all your boners. Am I right? He's too far away to high five.
yeah,
Too far away.
virtual high
We were
five
going to do
in
a
the
boner
air,
high
yeah.
five. Yeah. It freezes.
Right.
Lightning shoots from it, and then we go solve crime.
Wait, from the high five or from the boner?
Yeah, from the our
Oh.
boners touch, but then the
lightning.
that generates the energy, and then
Sure. And then we change bodies.
it collects at our hand. Yeah, and then
Yeah,
it's like
it's a body swap
"Whoa,
movie.
I can't believe I'm in high school again. Yeah,
So
that's a genre of film
yeah,
that's really
made. A24. Where are you? A24. This seems like your kind of bread and butter. So you had support of a really fantastic mom and dad. It seems like
Mhm.
you had what seems obviously based on the very little information I've been given thus far. Pretty good home life. Good mom and dad. I mean,
sure.
like
Well,
tight
there
knit.
was divorce and all that, and
So-
remarriages, and
all right.
there's that.
But there was love.
That gave me my edge. That's why
That's why you're funny.
that's why I kind of want to punch people. That and being short. A divorce and
Wait,
being
hang on a
under
second. Wait.
5'9".
Put a pause in it. Wait, you're short? You consider yourself short?
Oh, I just started doing this Bumble and Tinder shit. I didn't.
I'm
I
so
never
sorry.
thought. I never thought it was even a thing. But
Until don't
it's
bother
like-
messaging me until you're 6 foot.
yeah, it's like five. It seems like if they're nice, they'll go like 5'10" and taller, please. I wear
Right.
heels and stuff, and I'm like, well, I can see how that would be. But
Yeah.
some are like, there's a word for someone under 6 feet. It's a friend or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
I'm like, whoa, fuck, what if I was on there like,
My
hey,
favorite-
see, cup or bigger.
Exactly.
Gotta have me some big old natties.
Double
Like,
standards.
yeah.
My favorite is manhood starts at 6 foot. I've seen that one.
Oh my
and I'm like,
God.
ouch.
I didn't even know it was a thing.
No.
It's to the point where it legitimately, I was
You have like a
like,
complex
well,
now.
what if I actually ever do meet? Because I haven't met one of these straight, maybe once, but it's like, hey, let's be friends. We have a lot in common,
right,
you know,
yeah.
which is healthier anyway. But I was thinking, like, what if one of these where I'm like, I'll be drunk and I just swipe on some model girl.
Right,
What
right.
if she wanted to hang out and it said that? I'm like, I gotta go buy lifts.
Yeah.
I gotta buy
You gotta wear,
wedges.
you got to wear like Gene Simmons shoes from Kiss,
Yeah.
like the big.
Or I guess John Wayne used to put stuff in his boots
so
and
that he
that's-
was a little bit taller than his co-stars.
and then that's why he looks like a drunk guy on skis.
because he's gonna walk
yeah,
in them.
yeah. He's
Wait,
like,
is that really the that's the history behind that?
Lifts. Yeah.
Look at that movie history by Chris Fairbanks.
Yeah.
That's why he walks like he's got to drop one.
It could be wrong, but I've heard a lot about him wearing lifts
Let's just
and
go
it
with it.
having to do with his
Right.
walking style that
Right.
everyone.
So in any
yeah.
case, you're short. But you're got supportive parents. You go to art school.
Mhm.
And do you right out of college? Is that when you're just like, all right, I'm leaving? And then you headed to Austin because you mentioned moving to Austin
I was on the heels of graduating college. Yeah, I was in it.
on the heels. Oh, okay.
In college, I was in like an improv group, which I didn't even know what that was. But
Yeah, you have to tell me the name of it. It's sort of a rule.
Bob's Family.
Oh, okay.
Which
At least it's not
was-
a pun.
Right. No. Yeah, right away, we're like, yeah, we saw the Memphis ska or whatever. No, that's a ska. Ska bands and
Yeah.
improv groups had a lot in common.
Lot
Yeah,
of
everyone
trombone
wear
players.
white
Yeah.
and a tie. That's funny.
Checkerboards and
They're the same dudes. It's just the improv people wear
Wait, hang on a second.
a little fatter and
Is
they
an improv
smoked.
group just a ska band without their instruments?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that
I
what
think
an
that,
improv-
that's all it is. God, that's a T-shirt. Someone make that shirt. Someone steal our ideas.
That's perfect.
No, but yeah, one of the girls in the group I was dating, and then she was going to film school in Austin, and
Oh.
so I landed
Followed her.
in Austin because we had gone there for a improv festival, like the big
Like
stinking improv festival, and
Right.
it was cool. It was like UCB folks and people from Chicago, and you
Right.
take little seminars. I think we just went there. I don't even think we got in. We were just there as a group, and then we got
Oh, right.
stage
You
time.
you went to the festival
Yeah,
collectively
yeah.
as attendees.
But then we made pals with like
nice.
all the Naked Babies, which they
Right.
do a lot of they're in charge of the UCB stuff.
I mean, that's sort of how comedy works in general. Really, is you just have to show up and be there enough,
Yeah.
and they go, "Hey, do you want to do this with us?" Like,
yeah. And I getting that, even though most of those people were visiting, I'm like, I like how that felt, so I moved
Right.
there and then started doing stand up. I did improv. I didn't that contention you're talking
Right,
about
yeah.
between BMX and skating and improv.
Right.
I didn't know it existed because I just lived in a
You were only
town
in-
with no stand-up.
Right.
So I moved there to do stand-up, and it's like, oh, you can't do both, man. It's two different camps. But what I did realize is there was shows at the Velveeta Room where I started, where I would there'd be stand-up and then improv after it, and I would be involved with both. And it's two different mindsets, because some nights I would do well at stand-up and I'd have some jokes I want to do, and I improvised a lot.
Right.
I
And
always have.
even now, that sort of inspires your material.
But then I wouldn't do well with the improv. I couldn't work well with others. As
Right.
the more I did it, I'm like, wait, I don't think I'm good at improv anymore. Now it's something that kind of scares me.
Gotcha.
And that's how I started. But
Well, also, I feel like for my big fear with improv was always like, I'm just not a trusting person.
right.
And I don't want to rely on these people around me
yeah.
to take something that's in my brain and then make it better.
Sure.
I
sure.
mean, I'm also a sociopath. That should be
Sure,
stated.
Right. No, and I was too. It's like, I don't like where this is going. I'm
Right.
just going to say a joke right now, get a laugh, and we get out of this. Enough of this fucking scene building. This is going to go on for 10 minutes.
Right, yeah. Like, let's get to the punchline and move on.
Yeah, at your cervix, and then it's all done. And,
Although,
we don't have to.
Not for nothing, I feel like the that sort of contention between stand-up and improv, I feel like thanks to like the popularity of stuff like UCB, and I think thanks to podcasts and stuff like, Comedy Bang Bang and these sort of things that become a little bit more mainstream, I feel like that bridge is, or that bridge has been created, and sort of the camps are closing in on each other.
Oh, totally.
There's so much more crossover
with
now.
everything.
Yeah.
And same with, one of my favorite skaters, Dave Gravett. He can do a backflip on a BMX bike. I just keep bringing it back to that,
Jeez.
even though you're like, no, let's let
that's
that go.
fine.
But everyone can do everything now.
Right,
Whereas
right.
everyone, like these 12-year-old girls that I've watched skateboarding, and I start crying because they're so good. And no girls were even interested in it.
Right.
Now, or that's the thing that's changing.
Is
Is everyone's interested in.
Is that something that you were going to do? Like, do you think that was going to be, you were going to go pro and you were going to skate? Like, was that an option?
I don't think that we knew it was. Otherwise, we would have been getting video. You have to film
Right.
yourself skating.
Right. So you weren't those kids
No,
with the VHS tapes out?
it's like if a YouTube famous person never
Right.
picked up a camera or whatever.
Right.
My friend did have this footage of, but it's not comedy stuff. It's us like being drunk and punching each other and being
like you said, the most common thing to do.
Yeah. So there's no girls around. I have an idea. Let's fight each other.
Let's see who can last the longest hitting each other in the dick.
Yeah, I don't know how much it costs to transfer high-8 camera cassettes to.
Well, you missed out, because literally there's an entire group of people that made that a giant success story on MTV.
Oh,
You're literally describing Jackass.
It was when I lived in Bend, Oregon. Aaron McGeehee, who's the redheaded Danger
Right.
Aaron, he was in Bend just snowboarding too, but neither of us were like. I think he was sponsored by Airwalk snowboards.
Right.
And all of the snowboards.
I don't know why just the name Airwalk out of laugh.
Yeah, well, the shoes, they
Yeah.
were a legit company for a
Right.
while, and then they're like, "Hey, what would happen to our legitimacy if we sold our shoes in
Yeah,
Walmart?"
they're-
That was bad. We did a bad thing.
They're the Schwinn of snowboarding. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You want an old one. I
Right.
ordered a pair of old Airwalks the other day, these gym shoes that they're awesome. Yeah, but current. I mean, come on. But and I just got boards through my cousin and good friend rode for K2, so I didn't have to, we just lived this lifestyle peripherally. But he
Right.
was funny, and I saw him at parties and stuff, but I only lived in Bend during the winter. But then I was on a skate trip with my pals. There's all these skate parks around Oregon. That was one of the first states that just like
Right. Yeah.
they figured out the allocation of parks and rec money and
Yeah.
giant. So we used to go all the way up there from Montana, and I saw Aaron he worked at some skate park shop that he owns now. I think he's still, but he was like, "Hey, I got a show on MTV." And I just started doing comedy. And he's like, we're going to go to like Burnside and kayak down. That's what he said. We're going to Burnside and we're getting in kayaks. I'm like, oh, it sounds like stunts. He's like, yeah, but we're going to do creative stuff too, like pranks and
sketch sort of.
And he was
silly
inviting me to
be a part of it.
Yeah,
shit.
he's like, I think that Spike Jones, I think early on Spike Jones did have something to do with it.
Yeah,
but he mentioned Spike Jones. He mentioned someone else. I don't think the whole MTV thing Maybe it was. So I think he's like, I have an MTV show, but he was wearing a shirt that had iron-on puffy letters, and it said Jackass. And I'm like, did MTV send you that shirt? Get out of here. I'm going skating. Good to see you again, though. And
by the way, I had no idea this connection when I brought this reference up, but I love this.
Sure.
That's great.
All my friends will make fun of me because we did, for years, a lot of people think I did a lot of the hijinks I'm embarrassed about. Like there's a whole series of things where I'd lay down next to homeless people and snuggle with them, trying not to wake them up. But I was like, and I look at that now and I'm like, oh, but it's kind of not good. Small town Missoula, like it was town drunk type people where we knew their names. And it's like, oh, there's that guy that always says he's going to stab us, but then watches a skateboard. He's cool. I'll lay next to him.
It's like there's the homeless guy, and then there's homeless Louie.
And then
everybody loves homeless Louie.
The town, he's in jail again because he's got a wacky Jughead hat. No, it's something that really bums me out about living here is the amount. Mental illness and the people. It's real and it's scary and it makes me real sad. So, but when I was 20, it's kind of funny to lay next to a homeless guy and say, "Where you been, sweetie?" Yeah. So it's stuff like that. And I'm like, well, I'm glad no one saw this, but it's just crazy to see these videos we made. And then all my friends are like, well, you could have been part of Jackass, but you didn't want to.
But you threw that away just to do comedy.
But after knowing those guys or interviewing, I knew Aaron then. I don't know any of them that well, but I've crossed paths with them because I worked at Fuel and we'd go to their their premieres. And stuff.
you were a host for Fuel TV for their extreme sports shows.
Sure, and stuff, and they all were limping. I think some of them have had catheters and
I mean, you destroyed your body your entire adolescence.
Really bad. Like some of them that no one I think Johnny Knoxville really got injured in some golf cart thing, like spleen and shit. Like they all have a bad story.
It's like pro wrestlers, like of the 80s, like of that generation. Before nowadays, it's a little bit more like taken care of, but like. I mean, your job is to just hurt yourself for a living, and then you're 40 and you're like, oh, I can't really walk good anymore. And maybe you hurt yourself for your entire life.
And I think they all got good money. I think that was one thing. It's not like these stories you hear about bands. I think they're money.
broke now. Yeah.
I think they did
hopefully they used it well. And
I think I'm pretty sure Wee Man Jason Acuna owns business that he runs, like a bar or something and a taco place, and like they are like, here's my backup plan, and
they were smart.
Aaron got that skate shop that he used to work at, which is kind of cool. Now I own it,
that's like a fun.
And then I imagine they all put away some millions, so it's kind of cool.
Some millions, he said.
Some millions,
Just some millions.
Some of your millions.
But so to go back to like you being a professional skateboarder outside of you said you didn't really know it existed?
I got some stuff from Planet Earth because another friend of mine was skated for them, and then he's like, I'm going to Japan to teach Japanese. Here, these guys will send you pants and boards, and I got some, but that was giant pant days. So I don't even know if I ever got boards from them. I think I just got a lot of giant clothes.
Right. But if you weren't like shooting yourself, like where was the promotion going to? Were you doing competitions? Were you doing
exactly? Like I think they just see it as he's
a kid. He's out there on the street. He's wearing our shit.
Yeah, let's have him advertised. Kind of like Tommy Hilfiger used to have a certain amount of jackets be out for display on a sidewalk because he knew some kids would steal it, and then they'd become more legit, which is so gross.
So,
and maybe isn't true. I blurred a lot of things. I don't know if John Wayne.
Listen, John Wayne
have been 7 feet tall with ankles made of steel.
So, you're still skateboarding in Austin when you meet this crew?
That oddly,
it's strictly a hobby, and
that's where I excelled the most at it. Because once I went there, I'm like, oh, these guys are good. And there's all these indoor skate parks and ditches and all, and it was 110, but I would just. Yeah, skate in these parks and sweat, and I got skinny and really was doing pretty well with it. But I was already like in my mid-20s at that point. It's like, well, it's over. It's over for someone, I think, by 30 for sure.
I mean, I think I went like 2 or 3 years without actually being on a BMX bike or any sort of bike in a skate park. And I went back in my late 20s to one, and I stood like at the top of like the half pipe, and I was just like, I'm good. Those were a couple good years. I'm over it.
No, I still want
everything.
I still think about it all the time. I can't let it go. I don't think I ever will. And there are guys like it's amazing who, with promotion and just being legit in skateboarding, like someone like Jeff Grosso or all these older skater guys that just figured out how to
Right.
maintain. They still sell boards and socks and shirts and
Right,
all
right.
and do well with it. As far as and they can still skate
Sure,
really
yeah,
well. I just
yeah.
think if you're skating transition,
Yeah,
that's how you
obviously.
keep. But there's guys that flip the board and jump off shit that are 40 and
Yeah.
they still. It's like I don't think the sport is old enough to realize how old you're
Right,
going to
what the
be.
limits are to it.
Or how young of a little girl in a tutu you're gonna. There's a little
Right,
girl that
yeah.
skates in a tutu
Sure.
that I'm amazed. I wish I knew her Instagram, but yes, Google little girl tutu skateboarding. I can't.
Right.
She's like in Brazil or something.
Nice.
It's unbelievable what this kid does with her little legs. I can't
Their little
believe
leg,
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's incredible.
or here in Venice, there's little
Right.
kids. So that I'm realizing how it's like weird. This park has 12-year-olds and 50-year-olds, and that would never be the case
Right.
just 10 years ago.
No, because it wasn't 50. The quote sport wasn't
Yeah.
50 years old. You know,
Yeah.
the activity, the sport, what do you want to call it?
Yeah, so I think I need to just change my focus to not doing flip tricks and
Right.
skating ledges,
Right,
and I need
right.
to start
Right.
skating.
Well,
bowls
here's the
and
thing:
stuff.
is I think the question for me, especially with mountain biking or cycling, was always like, what's the minimum that I can do but still enjoy it? And
Yeah.
because you also don't want to feel like either a shady or former self or just
Yeah.
feel like, oh, because then you're just gonna, especially you and I think we share some of that self-deprecation. I don't know about you. I struggle from waves of depression now. Like I don't
Yeah.
need to add to that.
Yeah.
By getting on a bike and not being able to do what I used to do, and then
Right.
and don't get me wrong, yes, try again and get
Sure.
better and all of that fun hippie shit, but also
Yeah.
I'm sad.
I'm just starting to let it. Well, now that I got my hip replaced, it really is like a full. I'm starting over with
Right.
something, and I legitimately, because I went skating a couple weeks ago, this indoor park
Yeah.
up at this Orchid Ranch place. We were really lucky to be able to go there, but it was a couple days of no one being around,
Right.
empty park, just
Right.
me and a couple friends.
Nice.
And I realized I could just roll around and do little ollies and some little.
And you enjoyed yourself.
Oh my God, yeah! I was like
That's-
so
see-
happy to just be doing it. So I'm
and a
like,
lot of it is
I
the
gotta-
environment too.
Yeah.
Being there, being in the scene. And it's sort of the atmosphere and being around it.
Yeah, I mean, the pain of my hip has been like 3-4 years now, so I really
When,
haven't.
when did you get that done? That was recent, right?
8.5 months ago. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But so I was following it. I'm playing skate video games, and everyone on Instagram is just
Right.
skateboarding. It's like I'm still thinking
Yeah.
about it all the time. So it is kind of depressing to think I'm not.
Not part of it.
Doing it,
Yeah,
so-
it's FOMO. You don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so I'm excited to be able to do it. But
Was
I
the
think
hip thing based on was it from skating
I don't know.
or was it just
Yeah, they just said you have no cartilage, and I
Oh.
quit asking why, because they're like,
Right.
we all know why. Both
doesn't
your hips are
matter
worn
if
out.
it's irrelevant? Why?
I think I had
Yeah.
weird hips that weren't fully developed in the way they should be, and then on top of that, especially snowboarding, I've really twisted my legs around and been
Right.
wheelchair bound, and I've broken both ankles. I broke a
Jeez.
growth plate in my foot one of those times. I think that I just
Right.
something happened. But my dad said, "Oh, even when you were a kid, I saw you ran with tight hips."
Oh, gotcha.
And I was like, "Really? Everyone knew this was
Right.
happening?"
Thanks for telling me.
Yeah,
then.
yeah. Well, what are they
Not
gonna
once,
do?
not one. I mean, of all the times you could pick on a kid, like, hey, you run funny. Then I'll remember that.
Yeah.
And as I get older, I'll think maybe I run funny for a reason.
Well, he didn't, because I ran fast. So it was
Oh.
like, well, but it's just little legs, like blurry little legs. I have no stride, and I
like
go,
sort of like how Wile E. Coyote starts to run.
yeah,
where he
yeah,
just spins
yeah.
there for
There's
a
even
minute.
that noise.
Yeah.
It's more coconuts clapping.
Yeah, I'm not sure what kind of bird that was that you just. Yeah. Yeah, there you
You
go.
know, when they're like, hey, Scoob, get out here. And then they run in place for a while, and then it's
Zoinks. Yeah,
like
totally.
phantoms. And but yeah, even when I golfed, all those things that involve hips,
Yeah.
I never had. And then when the doctor's like, "Oh, you have no cartilage, you have like old man," because after the surgery, he said the socket part, there was just no,
There's just
it was
no
just
socket.
bone.
It was
He's like,
flat.
and so he was like, "This was a birth, like a
Right.
genetic."
Gotcha. So have you just have a replacement, a steel replacement, or some sort of?
Yeah,
thing
it's
that's-
a metal. It's
Right.
like a helmet on
Right.
my existing femur. They didn't
Right.
cut my femur, so it's called a resurfacing.
Oh,
But
gotcha.
the surgery is as intense, if not more, because they have to get
Oof.
more access to the
Ooh.
bone than they do cutting it off and hammering metal in there.
Right.
So I'm still got a lot of stuff going on in there.
But are you doing physical therapy?
Yeah.
You've got this Batman machine
that
we're sitting next to.
I have my roommate picked up this inversion bed thing, and you hang upside down.
I walk into the garage, and he's like, yeah, you could check this thing out. And he just throws his feet in this and then just turns himself upside down like Keaton and Batman hanging in the door sill.
I prefer the older brother in Goonies.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll take it.
Young Josh Brolin. I come in here and hang upside down like a young Josh Brolin.
Yeah. But so is physical therapy something that you're doing to help?
Yeah.
Back?
Early on, everyone's like talked about how important it was. And then even the doctors, they send people to your house.
Right.
Like, as I was laying in bed, they made me painfully lift my leg 10 times and do this.
Sure, you're glad they did that now.
Yeah. And then I started going to this place, and then, but then I got sidetracked I started going to bar classes, because that's
on your
toes,
right,
little
yes.
like dance influence, but more yoga and Pilates and stuff. But I'm the only dude there. But it right away was getting.
We just you guys can see, but we high-fived again. After
Yeah. The only dude there. Yeah, it's mostly married ladies that are with baby. It's a good exercise if you're pregnant.
Sure.
Or not some of the moves,
right.
but we can get that.
Yeah,
I have a bar method podcast I'm doing later.
Oh yeah,
yeah, where we talk about form. But it really has helped. But I feel like I'm going back to physical therapy now.
Nice,
because there's stuff in it. They know how to rub out some of these little pockets.
Yeah,
anyway,
and so
kind of boring.
Is there going to be a limited mobility in the future, or is it like, oh no, once you do this and you go through this motion, you'll be fine?
Yeah, my doctor's like,
great.
yeah, skate again, wear it out.
Awesome.
We can do a replacement. He's
wear it out.
Yeah, he doesn't. That's why I got this.
I love that he's looking at it. It's just like it's brake pads. Like, no, we swapped them out.
He's like,
it'll
last 30 years, but if you do act crazy, it'll be 15 years, and then no matter what, we can still do a replacement. So this is like. That's what's good about the resurfacing is I have all my original equipment.
Nice. But I mean, not that you're like want to get back under the knife, I'm sure, but it's
No, I mean, I'm not going to run.
Right.
That he said, just don't run. Running is the worst if you have any.
And this has nothing to do with the hip. This is just in general. Just don't, whatever you do, people,
it looks
don't
bad.
run.
It makes you,
it's
I mean,
so
if
hard.
you have any upper body, you don't want your man titties flopping around. Just don't run. You have to wear weird shorts. It's a weird lifestyle. There's this shoe thing. He's got a lot of
the
like
toes,
lifestyle.
the toe shoes.
It's
a whole thing.
He really doesn't like running as societally. It's nothing about me. No, he said that'll wear me out.
That's great.
That's why I'm going to ride bikes. And
that's why I was always a fan of cycling myself. Was just low impact. Like I was like always complaining my knees hurt. And then when I realized like, oh, I can get a road bike or just get a mountain bike and do the same sort of activity, and afterwards, my legs hurt, but in that fun.
Yeah, there's a level you can
way.
do it with skateboarding. You do have to, at whatever level you're doing it, you've got to jump around repeatedly. But with bikes, I mean, when something goes wrong, you can't even compare the two as far as how badly you could.
Right.
Because there's a bar right where your balls are.
Right. Well, listen, a wise man once said, as long as you're holding the handlebars, everything's going to be okay.
Right. Yeah.
We can do like the Quint Jaws scene where I could just show you all of like my scars and all of the terrible things that have happened. But as long as you're holding the handlebars, you're going to be fine.
It's funny, unless of course you're doing one of those tricks where you're not holding on to the handlebars.
Oh, well,
there's one of the. If you're doing a bar spin, well, it doesn't.
Well,
Make sure you grab them again.
Yes, yeah.
But I've never been injured on a bike really.
That's thankfully.
Yeah.
What about actually skating? Like obviously the hip thing was birth, but like.
Just
you have to have a collection. I cannot. I think that's one of the reasons I was always afraid of it.
I've broken my feet and my ankles.
See,
I feel
like you want those. You don't want those to be broken.
Well, it's funny. They're great now. Like of all the things, arthritis and everything that has happened to me, my ankles have come out unscathed. So
I wonder if it's simply
everyone's
the fact
like,
that
when you're 40, you're really gonna. It's like no. 40. The pain I have now is just a gift from God. I'm not gonna blame my ankles. The hip thing. The doctor wouldn't even blame skateboarding. So
right.
But he did guess that when he said which hip, I said my left. He's like, oh, you're regular footed. So enough of it. he knew enough about it
Like where it's a thing.
to assume that it
Right.
was my front leg and
Right.
that it's maybe not natural to do sports where
You're twisting at the hip.
golf included, I suppose, where you're looking over to your left and your body is sideways.
Oh yeah. Well,
like
your toes are forward and your shoulders are.
and that is the move that hurts.
right.
You know, when I go like that or
Yeah.
when I lean over and touch,
Yeah. Like
lean for, or like the motion of getting up on a surfboard, that
Right.
is what hurts. So
Right.
it's like, it's hard not to.
I bet you that
blame.
bar class is gonna be the best thing for you.
Oh, I'm
hearing-
going right after this.
I'm
yeah.
hearing my older sister, you know, a 15-year defense attorney in New York City, like really top tier, like worked with huge, like the Legal Eagle was her nickname. Like she's like this
cool,
hard-nosed defense attorney, like decided one day that like, you know what, that life's not for me anymore. And now I'm going to teach yoga.
Oh,
and like
wow.
literally like discover and like went and like goes on these like, you know, retreats for months on end.
Oh, wow.
And as I'm watching you go like, oh, I this hurts when I do this, I'm hearing her in my head go like, we could fix all that. All you gotta do is just do yoga. Meanwhile, it should be known I still have yet to do yoga. But I do complain about my body and my inability to touch my toes on a daily basis. So
Dude,
there's that.
I can touch my toes now. I never have been able to. Even when you're a kid, the presidential whatever,
right,
where
yeah,
you're
like
supposed to like
how many sit-ups and how many
yeah,
push-ups.
and they're like,
yeah.
wait, you can't even touch your toes? Go hang out with the fat kids over here. I couldn't do that. And now I can. I have more flexibility than
You've gained that back.
yeah, and surpassed what I had. So it's helping with all that and like butt muscles. I feel like my butt's nice and hard. But I still got other shit going on in there. So
Yeah, I'm in a weird spot where I feel like I've gained weight in my 30s, and I might not be happy with what's going on here, but my ass is the best it's ever looked. Like because I've always had no ass whatsoever. I've always said it looks like you took a frog and you stood him up on his hind legs.
it's
Like
funny. Yeah.
But now I'm like, I kind of got a nice ass. And
Most people don't think the dudes even care about
no,
that.
but
yeah.
I finally have an ass. And
yeah,
now,
every once in a while I'll be at the gym and some guy's all ripped and I'm like, no ass though.
No ass though.
Yeah,
No
sorry,
ass.
man. Yeah, that's why I don't go work
Yeah,
out that much. Right, guys? You're
the
like with a
ass.
bunch of
Yeah.
dudes. But, look at my ass, right? And they're like, oh, it's a
like,
good
listen.
point. It's a good point. He does have a nice, not muscly ass.
Listen, when I'm laying on my side, I definitely have a B cup, but
Yeah.
at least I
Well,
have
there's-
some junk.
I think a lot of women are into like squatty type butt exercises because there are different. You could be a cardio person
Right.
where you lose your ass,
Right.
and that's kind of accidentally. I'm realizing in this class, I'm like, I'm getting a muscly butt
I'm getting a muscly butt.
because I want to surround this hip joint with
Right.
muscles.
Which is also probably not for nothing, but I bet you the reason why, even despite broken ankles and feet, why you don't have a problem is because I bet you skating, you've just built up the muscles around those
Maybe,
bones and those
yeah.
tissues.
I
Like,
think there's some good that came from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's been long enough to where I do know that I went snowboarding this weekend, and I usually am very tired at the beginning of that first couple days of snowboarding because
Right.
nothing else activates those quick twitch weird muscles in your knees.
Yeah.
And now I am doing all these weird little squats, and I was
Totally.
like, nothing to do that
Right.
again.
do you feel like part of the skateboarding, which is now maybe also the Pilates, maybe just that activity, do you feel like that's sort of beneficial to your mental health? Being somebody who is so, like you sort of self-defacing and
Yeah.
sort of,
Well, it's funny. Before the surgery, he was like, this will help us decide whether or not you need surgery. Why don't you swim a few times a week? So I got into swimming, even though I didn't know how. I got like a snorkel and
Right, I'm
everything.
the same way. I
So
can't
I
swim
go
for
to the
shit.
pool and back and forth, and it helped with a lot of the pain.
wow.
But while doing it, I realized, oh, this is like meditative. I don't think I ever stop and relax and not think about anything but my breathing
Right.
because swimming is like, think about your breathing. And this bar method class is like,
Yeah, it's
very
not
much
dissimilar to like
breathe-
yoga and that
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
stuff,
It's
right?
all breath stuff. And so I'm realizing I need to breathe all the time.
Right,
Like
right.
skateboarding, comedy,
Right.
focus on your breathing. Because I think anytime someone's rubbed my shoulders, they're like, oh, you hold a lot of your tension. I think I'm just holding my fucking breath my whole life. Like
Right.
I don't breathe much. And so now I'm
I've
like,
never thought about that, but that might have just explained a lot of my shit.
yeah, well, I'm reminding
same
myself
way.
I'm not like good at it yet, but I think breathing.
And you know what? Now that you say that, I realize that cycling, when I was avid cycling, like just that repetition of actually just in through the nose, hold out through the mouth, like just that slow sort of pace, just so that because I know that if I'm just mouth breathing the whole time, then I'm not going to get more than a decade.
It's funny when I ran, because I was running on the beach here. I think that's what really brought my hip over the edge. It's like, but I would have the personal Jesus Depeche Mode breathing the.
Yeah,
I would do that.
You're creating a little beat in your head.
It was like. I have to be running.
You have to be in the motion.
But it was
the perfect tempo.
It was like quick, and because it's hard to be running and then just have it be like breathing in, breathing out.
It's two different tempos.
Yeah, you have to have
you
have to breathe to the tempo.
Yeah.
So
that's like some weird like fusion jazz you have to do in your brain.
Yeah, it's like that broomstick jazzy drumming, man. I'm
I bet you Neil Peart has no problem running on the beach.
That cat knows jazz.
I wonder about that too, just because as I get older and I stop doing physical things, you know what I mean? Like or what you do is you sort of adopt a new one every year.
Sure.
Where it's like I was telling you before we started that I actually had my bike stolen out of my garage, and I've been so bitter about that incident that I literally I've never bought a bike. I have not even been on a bicycle since. It was years ago. And that was so much a part of my life, like every day and going to I live in Burbank, the Verdugo Mountains, this beautiful mountain range. Mm-hmm. And just sort of how, like when I first was out to LA, I've been out here for about a decade now. And I feel like you move out here, you can't really control a lot of the shit that goes on with your career, and you're in that typical, stereotypical sort of struggle of, nothing's happening. And you kind of find like, all right, what's the one thing that I can do that's my own, that keeps me mentally
That's what's
healthy?
Kind of dangerous is every day I just worry about when I'm going to do bar or go ride my new bike.
And now you're not so worried about
I'm fucking having money coming in. I've been working my ass off.
So you're finding so much solace.
Been working my ass on muscle.
Yeah. Well done. Well done.
No money coming in.
Right.
That's
but
all right.
I feel like with that gone, with the cycling thing gone, I sort of adopted little things. People that listen to the show know that I found the very interesting little hobby, and that is simply just going to the fucking zoo. I live right next to the LA Zoo. I'll go just spend a couple hours at the zoo every day, and I'll leave my phone in the Jeep. I'll just be like, you know what, like just shutting your brain off. But
those kind of things are important too, like for your brain and thinking of. There's this shrine or shine. God,
Shine? There's a Shine?
The
band Shinedown.
No, yeah. Coming like you love Shinedown. Whoa.
Different. That was live, but I'll take it.
Oh God, no! I think that was Collective Soul.
Collective Soul. Oh shit!
Yeah.
Damn it!
Hey,
I just lost all my '90s cred.
Yeah, don't fucking try and compete with me on music that I hate. I really hate Collective Soul and live.
No, you don't know Love for Gel? What a good song!
At all.
What a good tune!
All. Sorry. Yeah. There's a garden, an all-inclusive spiritual garden. It's called the Shrine something, and it's like Palos Verdes.
Oh, okay.
And you just go there and park, and it's free. And I don't know why it's free, but you can donate. But I walk around that, and there's just geese and foliage, and it's well maintained, and it's beautiful, and it makes you either want to learn karate or it's a good place to go there and write jokes in your head. Yeah,
man. This actually just yesterday I got back up. My girlfriend and I went for a one-night camping trip at Idlewild. I'm not sure if you've ever been there. But it's like 2 hours out of LA, and you're driving through the desert, and there's just nothing because it's Southern California. And all of a sudden you turn off of the 10, the major highway, and the road starts getting windier, and then those desert rocks start becoming boulders. Those boulders start having little shrubs around them.
Is it near Calabasas or something?
No, I think it's more like Palm Springs area. Like it's east of here.
Yeah.
And it's just as you drive up this mountain, these like I said, the shrubs become trees, and the trees get bigger, and all of a sudden you're in these freaking redwoods.
Oh wow!
And it's just in the middle of I'll show you pictures of my phone for like it's insane.
Wow!
And we stayed one night at this Idlewild campground. It snowed last night.
Oh wow!
Like literally last night.
Last night was cold.
We woke up to snow, and I was just
you were in a tent.
Yeah, yeah. And it was just like it was like you said. You wake up and you just sort of like you just think and you just look around, and I'm like, shit. I wish I had work to do because this is the spot right here to do that work.
Right. Yeah. If I could bring a computer to those places.
Of course, it might defeat the whole purpose.
Yeah.
Having the computer.
No, it's nice, I think, to just stop and look up for 10 minutes and be like, I'm going to go kick that pine cone and then sit back down. And
right.
Because I can't just sit in my room for hours on end anymore. I gotta.
It's tough.
My friends at home all work hard, and they can just get up and wander into the mountains at any point,
Right.
and they do. And
But that's why I was so excited about just discovering not that I discovered. I've been to Iowa before, but this specific area and this campground, like it's so close. And my girlfriend and I are both like we're not cut out for LA. Like we're here because we're trying to do things, and we're here, we're accomplishing goals and all of that fun shit.
Yeah.
But we're both like total country people. We want like mountains of Utah, or like we want Denver. Like that's
me too. Yeah, it's hard to. And then the only thing keeping me here, I do consider this place my home. I mean, you've been here a long time too, right? Yeah, I've been here since 2003. But I do miss all that being outside and indulging in life
and
in
just
other
green
ways.
shit.
Yeah.
I miss green shit.
Yeah.
Like you don't see grass. You don't see like.
If it weren't for comedy, I always think about what would I be doing. It's not healthy to go down that.
No, never healthy.
But it is in trying to investigate what you feel you're missing and then realize, I can do that here too.
Right. Sure.
Maybe not have a cabin by a lake and have kids and stuff.
Literally.
I was robbed of being a good husband, but comedy's terrible. It's a terrible world to get into. I don't, especially if you're good at it.
That's
just
the message of
do not do comedy.
The whole message of this is just don't do comedy.
Yeah. Get a government job and have a normal family. And
you can do art. You can teach your kid art.
Exactly.
You can make him trace his hand.
Live
through your children, but get a government job.
Yeah. Work. You don't know the retirement that you get is terrific. What's my retirement here? Well, we'll see.
Is dad outdoorsman?
No, not really.
No.
No.
So you didn't
He
get
didn't ever like.
So the desire for that.
My
is
mom
just
liked
organic.
camping and stuff. We did camp and do that stuff, but he's since told me he never enjoyed it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like we had a Volkswagen bus, and he cut a hole in the top, and there was a camper pop-up tent.
Killing me.
Yeah, he like.
That's incredible.
And he was like, I never enjoyed it.
I'm jealous of people who grew up in I grew up on like Long Island, New York. Like dense, I mean, it's not different from LA. It's just like town and town. Yeah, there's pine trees and it's prettier than this, in my opinion. But it's still not like the country. I hear people tell stories about like, like on the weekends we would just drive up to Mount whatever.
Yeah.
And hit by the lake. And I'm just like, what?
Sure. I was lucky enough to be, I grew up going to Glacier Park, Yellowstone Park, all that. Skiing when I was a kid, all that stuff. And I'm glad that, but that is what I think about. I'm like, well, I don't want to bring a kid into the world here without all that. But that stuff is here. It's just you got to be rich to do it all the time.
Yeah, I was just
you got to be fucking rich.
You got to go a little farther and pay a little more. That's the difference for it.
I went to Mammoth this weekend, and it was. I mean, you got to pay for the place. You got to Airbnb a place. And then it was icy up there, and it wasn't the best. It was freezing cold. And the first day we were there, the wind, they're like, we're closed. And it's like, okay, that snowed a little bit overnight, enough to make it ice. Like the park there was so dangerous. But I'm like, I haven't done this forever. And I could have easily gotten hurt. They have like a 25-foot half pipe there, and it was green ice. It was like ice, but with like some snow on it, right? But it's a dangerous combination. The whole mountain was
just like driving back from Idlewild yesterday. Like the main road, I think it's like the 243 or whatever it is that runs through those mountains. We got halfway down, and there's just a cop with a cone just standing there, arms crossed, and we're like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Yeah, this road is just too icy. We're just not letting anybody drive." And I'm like, "I'm like, what do we do?" He's like, "Well, there's a few other ways out of the mountain, but you just can't come, and it's only a one, lane in both directions."
Oh wow!
So you just couldn't because it's just
had a
windy
four-wheel drive.
I do. It doesn't matter. I was sliding everywhere yesterday on that. Like, it's that thin little layer of ice that just, and especially those, like, you're literally on a cliff face.
Yeah.
Winding roads. Anytime you see that, like, silver barrier.
Yeah.
Never. It's weird. You would think that seeing the silver barrier would make you feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, you see the silver barrier on the side of the windy road, and you go like, oh, good.
No,
if something happens.
It's just a reminder that at one point soft bodies were launching off to that onto crags of rock.
It's never a comforting sight.
Yeah. It's a last resort to a history of many bodies.
Yeah.
Well,
in any case, Chris, we were all over the place, but it was fantastic kind of getting to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, you too.
You've got a fantastic podcast of your own called Do You Need a Ride? How do people, that is on All Things Comedy?
Yeah, or just go to Spotify and type.
Nice.
A lot more people listen to it now. Karen Kilgariff has a murder podcast, which is huge.
Yeah.
It's a huge group of people that are now listening to our
That's
shelved old episodes. So
all of a sudden people start popping
so
up old stuff.
we're
Nice.
gonna do it more.
It is a
and more.
great show. People that aren't aware, the concept of the show is essentially you guys giving a ride to comedians to and from their destinations, and the entire thing is done in the car.
Yeah,
for the most part.
Or we'll drive around their neighborhood,
Yeah.
but it is in a car, and we do have guests. And lately, people want to hear Karen be ridiculous because it's a lot of her Murderino fans.
Yeah.
And so I've just been driving her around, and
yeah,
people
yeah.
were like, "Yay, no guest!" I'm like, "Well, what is that?" Yeah, we do have guests here and there, and we
right. You also have, if I'm not mistaken, you do what is the greatest impression of Paul Ryan.
I'm doing some town halls April 13th and 14th, and we're getting more dates, but it's developing now, and I got to come up with
and
I think questions and then I'll just kind of I think the most important thing is
this just started with you just doing it on Facebook and just online, sort of like putting out these fantastic little clippets.
There's a comic that is politically savvy that is relationships with some of these groups like Invisible and protest type groups that like do a lot of women's march stuff and other important things, and she reached out to them and they are going to help us. And then we talked to Randy Bryce, the guy running against for his Paul Ryan's seat in Congress.
Is that that's Iron Stash?
Iron Stash, yeah. And then he said, "Well, I'll come to an LA show." And so
that's great.
So we still have to work that one out and get him to come here. But if he and I if there could be a town hall where the audience, because at these shows the audience will be able to ask questions, and then but if he and I are able to debate, and then it'd just be a forum for him to say his own policy,
but still in a way that's going to be absolutely hilarious. He is so charismatic.
It seems like they were right away. They were like, "Could you get Patton Oswalt and Sarah Silverman to show up?" I'm like, "Well, if it's happening, then yes,
right.
It's that. Will he not come? If not,
right, yeah.
But just the fact that they were interested in comedy and see the value of it.
Well, I mean, that's literally. I mean, we've had this conversation show a bunch of times. At this point, like. From a political standpoint, the greatest place to get your news nowadays, unfortunately, has become entertainment. It has become infotainment. I mean, stuff like The Daily Show has changed the game.
It's great.
Because it's no longer satire. I mean, obviously there is satire in that, but it's just the facts presented in a way where you could say fuck.
And that's how I want this to be. I want the topics and the questions to be informed, and then I can be an idiot.
Right.
And it'll come easy to me because I'm not like that politically informed, but I think it's okay if you're playing someone like Paul Ryan. If I just fucking
I don't think Paul Ryan is very politically informed.
No, I'm just gonna if I don't know the answer, I'll just start lifting weights or
rage.
We'll have a button where I just play Rage Against the Machine.
Well, not for nothing, but I mean, you do have this great ass you've been working on, so you can just turn around and just work with Paul Ryan.
I've been like, he's an in shape guy. Maybe I should lose some weight for when
photos of him working out. I can't.
Oh, that was days after I sat here. We shot those in here in my garage, and I just had my hip done. And I was like lifting. It hurts so bad.
Oh no! But you know what though?
Sweating.
Worth it. Totally worth it.
Thanks,
those
man.
images are just the absolute greatest.
So I will just Instagram and tweet about.
And how do people find you on those outlets?
It's at Chris Fairbanks on Twitter and at Chris_Fairbanks on Instagram.
Awesome. Any other stand-up dates coming up?
Yeah, I'm doing a show in Big Sky next month for St. Patrick's Day. So if you're in Big Sky, skiing at that resort, I will be at the Lone Peak Brewing. But they were talking about how they wanted to do a festival up there and stuff. And Andy Wood, the Bridgetown guy, connected me with him, and so I'm doing that. But yeah, I don't have a ton of road work right now. It is all coming together, but
of course.
For me, it's rarely like it used to be. Like you get booked at a club a year in advance, and then you're like, "Well, here's schedule."
The dates,
But now I just like doing stuff that
month to month.
A door deal at some club or being more. Well, I have no choice. I don't have like a person booking me. You know, it'd be nice if it was
would be beneficial. If somebody
was
doing
these world tours where they just have me at every comedy club that I want to be at. You know, I prefer to do living rooms and talk to myself. No, it's all going well.
Everything is fine. So please be sure to follow Chris on all of those fantastic outlets. As always, please find me on Twitter at LiquidJake. Please follow the show at ElaboratePod on all social media, as well as It's Dragon Wagon on all social media as well. If you're enjoying this show, if you enjoy other shows on the network, please check out DragonWagonRadio.com. See what else we got. Click that little support button and help us out. If you happen to be in the Los Angeles area by chance, I made a movie and you can see it. My debut feature film, Pinch, is going to be having our Los Angeles premiere at the NoHo Lemley 7 on March 25th. That's Sunday at 7:15 p.m. We're going to have a fantastic little LA premiere and small Q&A as part of the NoHo Cinema Fest. You can check out pinchmovie.com for the trailer and more details on that. It will be fun if you're local to come show the movie that you've heard me talk about on this podcast a ton. Be an artist, not an influencer. Please create art, not content. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for joining me, Chris. I love you.
Thank you. Love you too, man.
Hey, everybody. I am sitting here with the delightfully tacky yet unrefined Zen Zenith.
I'm taken aback by that.
That's literally the slogan to Hooters. I don't know why. It just popped in my head.
Well, that's when I think me, I think Hooters. Thanks, Jake. So yeah, I'm here on your podcast to talk about my podcast.
You
right?
are. You have a
or
really...
am I just here for you to compare me to Hooters?
You have a really incredible podcast. All jokes aside, it is one of my absolute favorite experiences because I love discovering music through live performance,
right.
Especially intimate live performances, and that is exactly what your show is.
Right. Once a month, we meet at your apartment, and we have a couple artists here who play in front of a live audience. And then I talk to them, we do a Q&A with the audience, and the whole thing gets recorded for your listening pleasure.
3 of my new favorite artists are from the House Show
Yeah,
show.
me too, man. It's such a pleasure to get to meet such talented folks, and you can check it all out for yourself at thehouseshowshow.com or on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever else you might listen to podcasts.
So do just that.
It's Dragon Wagon.